I never thought a simple drive could unravel my entire life. One sunny afternoon, I was cruising through the quiet streets of our Oregon suburb, the kind of place where kids ride bikes and neighbors wave like they mean it. I'd just finished picking up groceries, the trunk rattling with bags of apples and canned soup, when I decided to swing by my son's house. I hadn't seen my daughter-in-law, Sarah, in weeks, and something in me just wanted to pop in, maybe share a coffee and catch up. No call, no plan, just a gut feeling. That's when I saw it. My husband's car, a sleek gray sedan, parked in their driveway like it belonged there. The same car he swore was at the shop, getting its brakes fixed. My heart did a little flip, the kind that tells you something's wrong before your brain catches up. I slowed down, squinting through my windshield, half expecting it to be someone else's car. Maybe a neighbor's, maybe a coincidence. But the license plate was his, the same one I'd memorized years ago when we bought it together. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, my palms suddenly clammy. Nathan, my husband of over 3 decades, had told me he was out of town, visiting his brother upstate. "Don't wait up, hon," he'd said, kissing my forehead before driving off with a packed duffel bag. Yet there was his car, gleaming under the afternoon sun, right in front of my son's house. I pulled over a block away, my breath catching in my throat. Something told me to stay quiet, to stay hidden. I didn't know why, but my gut was screaming that whatever I was about to find wasn't going to be good. I'm not the kind of person who snoops. I spent years teaching middle school, grading papers and breaking up hallway fights, always trusting the people I loved to be who they said they were. Nathan and I built a life together, raised our son, Caleb, in a cozy house filled with laughter and Sunday roasts. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. Or so I thought. That afternoon, stepping out of my car, I felt like a stranger in my own life. The air was warm, but my fingers were cold as I crept towards Sarah's house, avoiding the front walk. The curtains were drawn tight, which was odd. Sarah always loved her open windows, said they made the house feel alive. I slipped around to the side, where the guest room window overlooked a small rose garden. That's when I heard them. Nathan's voice, low and warm, the way he used to talk to me when we were young. Then Sarah's laugh, soft and intimate, like it was meant for someone special. My knees buckled, and I leaned against the house, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they'd hear it. I stood there, frozen against the siding, the roses scratching at my jeans. Nathan's voice carried through the window, smooth and familiar, but it was the words that cut me. "She'd never suspect a thing," he said, his tone light, like he was discussing the weather. Sarah's voice followed, sharp and certain. "Good. Let's keep it that way." My chest tightened, a dull ache spreading like wildfire. I wanted to scream, to bang on the window and demand answers, but my feet wouldn't move. Instead, I inched closer, the glass cool against my ear. "If she ever gets too close," Sarah said, her voice dropping, "we'll handle it. She trusts you too much." Nathan chuckled, that same chuckle that used to make me feel safe. "You're right. She's too busy playing the perfect mom." I pulled back, my breath shallow, my mind racing. Perfect mom? Was that how they saw me? Some clueless woman, blind to the cracks in her own family? I thought of Caleb, my son, always working late at his engineering firm, coming home to Sarah with a tired smile, believing she was his rock. I thought of the way Nathan had started keeping his phone face down, claiming the screen's glare bothered him. The way he'd stopped sitting next to me during movie nights, saying the couch was too soft for his back. Little things I'd ignored, brushed off as quirks of a long marriage. But now they weren't quirks. They were clues, staring me in the face. I slipped back to my car, my legs shaky, and sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the dashboard. The groceries in the trunk were probably spoiling, but I didn't care. My mind kept replaying their voices, the ease in their words, the way they spoke about me like I was an obstacle. I wanted to drive away, to pretend I hadn't heard anything, but I couldn't. That night, lying in bed, the empty space next to me felt heavier than ever. Nathan was still out of town, or so he'd said. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about Sarah, how she used to call me for advice on Caleb's favorite meals, how we'd spent hours decorating their nursery together. Had that all been a lie? And Nathan, The man who'd held my hand through every hospital visit, every late-night worry about our son. How long had he been someone else? The next morning, I woke up with a fire in my chest. I wasn't going to sit there and let this eat me alive. I needed answers, not just for me, but for Caleb. He deserved better than a wife who whispered secrets behind his back, a father who betrayed him. I drove back to Sarah's house that afternoon, parking 2 streets over like some kind of spy. It felt ridiculous, pulling my hoodie up and keeping my head low, but I didn't care. I needed to know how deep this went. The guest room blinds were cracked open this time, just enough for me to see shadows moving inside. I crouched by the roses again, my heart thudding so loud I could barely hear. Nathan's voice came first, slower, like he was choosing his words. Caleb's been asking questions about why I'm around so much. I told him I'm helping with the baby. Sarah scoffed, her voice sharp. You need to be careful. If she starts poking around, it's over. Everything we've planned. Planned? My stomach twisted. What were they planning? I leaned closer, my breath fogging the glass. She's not that smart anymore, Nathan said, his voice cold. She's too caught up in her routine. I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. Not that smart? I'd spent years balancing budgets, raising a son, teaching kids who barely listened. I was plenty smart. Smart enough to know I wasn't leaving until I had proof. That evening, I went to Nathan's study. He'd always been fussy about that room, saying it was his space, his sanctuary. Out of respect, I'd never touched his desk. But respect was gone now. I pulled open every drawer, sifting through pens, old bills, and crumpled receipts. Then, under a stack of tax forms, I found it, a small black phone, cold to the touch, like it had been waiting for me. My hands shook as I powered it on. No password. Just a screen full of messages. Sarah's name lit up in dozens of texts. Same time tomorrow. Missed you today. Don't forget the cash. My throat closed up as I scrolled. Photos of them together, some blurry, some painfully clear. Then one message stopped me cold, dated months ago, right after Sarah's second baby was born. He still thinks she's his. I said she came early, and he bought it. Looks enough like Caleb, thank God. My knees gave out, and I sank to the floor, the phone glowing in my hand. My granddaughter, the little girl Caleb adored, wasn't his. She was Nathan's. The room spun, and I pressed my hand to my mouth, trying not to scream. This wasn't just an affair. It was a lie that had burrowed into the heart of our family, a lie Caleb was living every day, singing lullabies to a child he thought was his. I wanted to throw the phone, to shatter it, but I didn't. I needed it. Because this wasn't over. I spent the next week in a haze, barely eating, barely sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Caleb's face, the way he lit up when he held his daughter, calling her his little star. I saw Nathan smirk, Sarah's calculated smile. I couldn't let this go on. I needed them to face each other, to face me. So I planned a dinner, texting Nathan, Caleb, and Sarah, family night this Sunday. Let's make it special. Sarah replied instantly, all sweetness. Can't wait. I'll bring pie. Nathan sent a quick sounds good. Caleb took longer, probably exhausted from work, but finally said, sure, Mom. Be there. I spent the day before cleaning the house, not because it needed it, but because it kept my hands busy and my mind sharp. I set the dining table with our old china, the plates Nathan and I got for our 20th anniversary. I hid a small recorder behind a vase, testing it twice to make sure it caught every word. Sunday evening, I wore a green dress, Nathan's favorite color, and smiled like nothing was wrong. Nathan arrived first, carrying a bottle of wine, kissing my cheek like he hadn't spent months lying to my face. Sarah came next, balancing the baby and a tray of apple pie, her smile bright and fake. You look amazing, she whispered, like we were best friends. I swallowed the bile in my throat and nodded. Caleb arrived last, his shoulders slumped, but his eyes warm. He hugged me tight, and for a moment, I almost broke. Dinner started easily, too easily. Caleb talked about a new project at work. Sarah shared a story about the baby's first word. Nathan poured wine, laughing at his own bad jokes. I watched them, every glance, every brush of hands. Sarah's fingers grazed Nathan's when she passed the potatoes. He leaned into her laugh, his eyes lingering too long. The recorder hummed silently, catching it all. I played my part, smiling, asking questions, refilling glasses. Then, over dessert, I set the trap. You know, I said, stirring my coffee, I've been thinking about trust lately. How it's the glue of a family. Nathan's fork paused. Sarah's smile froze. Caleb looked up confused. What do you mean, Mom? He asked. I leaned back, my heart pounding, but my voice steady. Just that secrets have a way of coming out, don't they? Nathan coughed, his eyes darting to Sarah. She gripped her napkin, her knuckles white. I didn't push further, just let the silence sit, heavy and thick. The recorder kept going, capturing every tense second. I knew I had them. Their guilt was written in every glance, every tightened jaw. That night, after they left, I played the recording back, watching their faces on my phone's grainy video. It was all there, their familiarity, their fear when I mentioned secrets. It was enough. The next morning, I called Caleb over, saying I needed help with some shelves in the garage. When he arrived, his hair messy and his eyes tired, I wanted to protect him from what was coming, but I couldn't. He deserved the truth. Sit down, I said, handing him my phone. Watch this. He frowned but took it, his thumb hesitating over the play button. The dinner footage rolled, Sarah's hand on Nathan's, their too-easy laughter, the way they flinched when I mentioned secrets. Then the audio from the burner phone, Sarah's voice clear. He still thinks she's his. Thank God she looks like Caleb. Caleb's face went pale, his hands trembling as he gripped the phone. He didn't speak, just stared at the floor, his breath uneven. Mom, he whispered finally, are you saying? I nodded, my throat tight. The baby isn't yours, Caleb. I'm so sorry. He stood abruptly, pacing, his fists clenched. No, she wouldn't. Not with Dad. His voice cracked, and I felt my heart break with it. I got a paternity test, I said softly. Results come tomorrow. He nodded, dazed, and left without another word. The next evening, we sat together, waiting for the lab's call. When it came, Caleb answered, his hands shaking. The technician's voice was clinical. 0% probability of paternity. Caleb lowered the phone, his eyes closed, and let out a long, ragged breath. Then he stood, grabbed his keys, and walked out. I didn't follow. I knew he needed to face this alone. Later, he told me he went home, held the baby one last time, and looked at Sarah. Why? He asked. She tried to lie, then cried, then begged, but he was already gone. He called me that night, his voice hollow. Can I stay with you, Mom? Always, I said. Nathan came home late, reeking of whiskey, mumbling excuses. I didn't speak, just handed him divorce papers. He laughed, called me dramatic, but I stared through him, done with his lies. The next day, I sent the recordings and test results to a lawyer, then to Sarah's family, her coworkers, her friends, everyone who'd believed her perfect little life. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth to burn away the lies. Nathan moved out. Sarah's world collapsed, her marriage, her reputation gone. Caleb's still with me, healing slowly, piecing himself back together. And me? I'm starting over, not with anger, but with clarity. The truth tore my family apart, but it also set us free. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real, raw stories from the heart. Your support means the world.